Another game I want to talk about is called Day of Defeat. Now this is a really fun game. There was an older Day of Defeat that I still like to play, but they got a more modern version that's also very good to play, and I really love both games and perfectly happy playing either of them. The thing is about Day of Defeat, it's a very interesting game because it is small unit tactics, and you're playing it online with other players. And one of the positions I like to play a lot is I like to play either the sniper or the machine gunner. When playing the Germans, I like to grab the MG42. I like the MG34 also. I can fire that on the move fairly well, room to room. Use it like a submachine gun, but it's much easier to hit on the move with an MG34 than an MG42 because that just shakes all over the place. You want to mount that in a good position, but you need some guys with you, in order to get into position, because if you're just running around with the MG42 by yourself, you're not going to get very far. You're going to get shot down. So you want to get behind the infantry as they're advancing, set up that MG42, put down suppressive fire, let them get closer. It's kind of like a boa constrictor where it wraps around you, and every time you inhale, it squeezes tighter. So you keep squeezing tighter and tighter and tighter until you can't breathe anymore. So you want to kind of do that with the machine gunner. You want to get to a position, put down suppressive fire, let the infantry, other foot soldiers get a foothold on the next position, then bring your machine gun up when you're in relative safety, set up again, and just keep moving forward. And that's how you pretty much win the game of Day of Defeat. Another thing I like to play is when I'm playing the Americans, I like to play the guy with the Tommy gun, if I can get it, because that's a really good fun gun to play with. It's good for fighting from room to room, and you could fire on the move as you're running. If I'm playing the British, I like to grab the Sten gun. When I'm playing the British, I don't like to grab the Bren gun. The reason I don't like to grab that is because I found once I set up the Bren on the bipods and start firing, I can wreak havoc with the enemy for about 30 rounds, but as soon as I go to reload, I found I get shot every time, and it's like I never get to reload that weapon. So I prefer the Sten, where I can just fire the submachine gun, pop up, fire a couple rounds, and pop down, reload, and then fire again. Where I'm not vulnerable while I'm reloading. Sten is very good up to about 40 yards. It's dynamite at that range, but beyond that, it's not very effective. The Lee Enfield's a good weapon, but it's very slow rate of fire in close. That's why when I'm traveling, I'll take out the pistol and move with the pistol where I'm going from room to room. And then when I'm set up in the position I want to be, then I pull out the Lee Enfield to fire at longer ranges, like firing from a window at the enemy. Once I've gotten to that window. But the basic tactics of this it's small unit tactics. You want to set up your machine guns. You want to get your have them put down suppressive fire while your guys move forward. And you need your machine gunners to move up to the next position, and just keep doing that over and over again until you've cut off their area and you take their last flag and win the game. Day of Defeat, very good game. Highly recommend it. Counter-Strike, that's another game I really like a lot. They got the older version, the newer version. Both of them are a lot of fun. It's good to communicate with your teammates and move as a team and work as a team and come up with a battle plan. Weapons I like to use on that's the Steyr, the M16, the AK-47. Some of the submachine guns are good, particularly the French one that's got like 50 rounds on it. It's got a very fast rate of fire. It's got 50 rounds, which is a lot to fire with. I like to use the machine gun sometime. I like the 50 caliber sniper rifle. The thing I found is I could take out enemy soldiers with one shot from a safe distance away. So they also didn't have a 50 caliber sniper rifle, which a lot of them would. But found I could take out several enemy soldiers very quickly with that 50 caliber. And then I would use a Desert Eagle handgun as a backup weapon for when I'm in close. I like using the shotguns. A lot of people don't like using those, but they're actually pretty effective. I like using the MAC-10 submachine gun if I'm going to get a submachine gun. The reason I like to use that one is because in close it's very deadly, and I could use it effectively in close, and I could also, in short bursts, take out an enemy from a distance with it. But there's a real art to using the MAC-10, and most people never figure out how to use it properly. So they think it's worthless, but it's actually a pretty good weapon if you know how to use it. It's good when you're playing that game to make sure you keep buying ammo for your weapons, because you keep playing more rounds. And one time I bought the Desert Eagle and I didn't buy any ammo for it, and I killed an enemy soldier, and I was out of ammo for my assault rifle and my Desert Eagle both, because I hadn't bought any more. There was one enemy left, and I tried to get away from him before the round. He let the clock run out on the round, but he got me with his submachine gun. So it's good to buy. Make sure you buy ammo. Also in that game, it's good to buy a diffuser kit. They're cheap, and they come in very handy. When you're doing a hostage rescue mission, as a general rule, if they're not, it's good to go for the hostages fairly early in the game. If you could get to them and get them back, you win the game that way. A lot of times people seem to forget that, and they don't go for the hostages. And particularly if they're weakly guarded, you definitely want to go and grab those hostages as soon as possible. One of the games that they have is Protect the VIP. And in that game, you got to get the VIP from this oil platform at the bottom to the helicopter. And when you play that game, it's good never to take the same route twice, because you do different rounds. And if you're playing on the side that's getting the VIP out, it's good to stick with the VIP. A lot of guys, they aren't sticking with the VIP when they're running around. They're just running around any direction. You know, you want to stay with him. Wherever he goes, you go with him. And that's the key to that game if you're playing the Rescue the VIP side. If you're playing the other side, it's good to get some guys out towards where the VIP is at. You know, sometimes you can take them by surprise early in the game, but a lot of times what I like to do is camp and wait by the helicopter. You know he's got to come that way, some direction, and a lot of times I would just get the VIP as he's running towards the helicopter, even just a few short steps before he's supposed to get to the helicopter and win. And that's a tactic I like to use, and I've been very successful at that. Call of Duty, it's an older game. It's you don't have as much control. Okay, another game I like to talk about is Call of Duty. Call of Duty, it's an older game. You don't have as much control in it as you do like a game like Brothers in Arms, but it's still pretty fun. You don't have control over your other teammates, but they do at least stick together with you when you're playing. In Battlefield 1942, a game I liked, but the problem I had with it was you didn't have control of your other teammates. So, you know, it was, I'd end up going off by myself, fighting all by myself, without having anyone on my own team go with me. And that was disappointing, but it's still overall a fun game. Some of the early games that I'd like to, another thing I'd like to talk about is some of the early games that I really liked was Space Wars. It's kind of like the Star Destroyer from Star Wars against the Enterprise, and they're firing like photon torpedoes at each other, both sides are, and it's actually a pretty fun, fast-paced game. The original Pac-Man was a very good game. I liked that one a lot. Miss Pac-Man and Son of Pac-Man, I thought those were all good. Tron was a good game. I liked that one, but Discotron was very good. And it was a 16-bit game, but it was very impressive. Quicks was another game that I liked. It's where like little lines go across the screen and you're trying to cut off the territory. There's like this thing weaving around. It's like this monster thing that's weaving around a bunch of lines. If the lines touch you while you're trying to get from one point to another, you get zapped. A very fun game. Mario Brothers, the various versions of that's a very good game. Sonic the Hedgehog, I really liked it a lot. I thought it was a lot of fun. Joust was that was a that's the game where you're like on this little ostrich, and you've got like a jousting stick, and you've got to hit higher. There are other little ostriches running around that you're fighting, and you got to hit them higher than they are. If you do that, you get to kill them. If not, they kill you. Very fun game. I like playing that one a lot. Battlezone, it's interesting because I heard that, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that tankers in the Army were playing this game and they were getting better at it, so the Army developed their own, like, tank simulators because of that. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it's a very fun game. Lunar landing, that's where you're simulating the landing on the moon of the Lunar Exploration Module. You've got a limited amount of fuel, and you've got to land. You've got to land the right way without using up too much fuel, and you got to land at the right speed, or your spaceship will break apart. A lot of people didn't like that game. I loved the game. I thought it was great. Spy Hunter, that was a fun little game where you're playing like, you got like this James Bond type of car, and these other cars are coming after you, and they got all kinds of features. You got like machine guns and on your car, you can shoot them. It was a lot of fun. Pong, the original Pong, I liked that one. Got boring after a while, of course, but when I was a kid, it was just cutting edge. It was like Star Wars when it came out. Knockout, that was like a version of Pong where you've got like these bricks and you've got like this Pong paddle and a ball going back and forth, and you got to have the ball hit the paddle and keep knocking it up towards the bricks and knock out all the bricks. It was a good game. Space Invaders, the original, was, I remember it was a lot of fun. Some of these jet fighter pilot games that they came out with, many of those were very good. Doom, the original one, I did kind of like. I didn't love the game, but it was interesting to see the potential of the first-person shooter in that game. Defender, that was a game that I did enjoy. I didn't love the game, but I did like it. It was a fun game. Samurai Showdown, that was a really fun game where you're playing a samurai going up against other samurais, and some of the samurais might have like two swords instead of one. And some of the samurais might have like an Aikido style of fighting. And it's a very, very fun little game. Choplifter, 8-bit game, very fun, where you're shooting a hole in these buildings and the POWs come out and you got to land and get them out of there. You got to be careful when you're shooting because you might actually shoot your own guys. And Renegades, another game that I thought was a lot of fun where you're like this young tough kid in New York City, and you run into a lot of other like tough guys, and you got to fight your way through the subways and the various places. And very fun little game. Mortal Kombat, that was a game I really liked a lot. It was very popular in its day, and there is some strategy to that. The Olympic video game that they had, that was a lot of fun, I thought, and there was a real art to it, and I really missed some of those simpler little like 8-bit games that they had that were really quite good. Elevator Action was another one that I thought was really quite good, where you're a guy, like a spy guy on an elevator, and you've got to go down all these floors. You got to get down to the basement and to get to the car to get out of there. And there are a whole bunch of guys in between you and them, and made for a lot of action. Ghosts and Goblins, a lot of you probably don't remember that game, but that was like a fun little game, and where it's like in a haunted woods type of area, and there are ghosts and goblins in there. Is really neat. Tank Commander, a lot of you probably haven't heard of this. This is a 16-bit game. It's where you're actually a tank commander in charge of an M1 Abrams tank, and you have to fight your way through enemy soldiers, and you're given missions. A lot of times the missions you're given are very vague in their nature, but it's very good game at training at military tank tactics. Girls Panic, that's like a version of Quicks. It's also a lot of fun, but it's it's a cute little game if you get a chance to play that one. The Trivial Pursuit video game that they had, where you'd ask questions and get points, that was a fun one. I really liked that one. Donkey Kong Jr., you know, it's interesting because Donkey Kong was one of the very first video games that made it big. And Donkey Kong Jr. was a takeoff on that. I really liked that one a lot. I thought it was very fun. Shinlone was another one that I liked, where you're playing like a ninja warrior and you're fighting through all these different scenarios. That was a pretty fun game. They had like a 32-bit samurai warrior simulator. I thought was very good. Also, some of the pinball video games that they had, where it's a video game that simulates a pinball machine. Those were a lot of fun. I really liked those. Tetris, of course, that was a fun game. Breakout, if you remember that one. Xenophobia was also a very fun game. I strongly recommend. That's like where you're fighting the alien from the Alien series. Lethal Enforcer, that was a very good game. It's interesting because people who played that game actually became very good shooters in that, to where they're actually very deadly because they practice so much of just how to shoot properly. But in that game, you're basically got a handgun, and you got to shoot the bad guys without shooting any of the civilians or hostages. And that was a very fun game. Asteroids, the original game, very fun game. Like that one a lot. I'd like to do a review of